Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got 5 NFL teams who could become the next dynasty. Let's check this out.
The NFL has always been a dynasty league, whether it was the Cowboys or 49ers in the 80s or 90s, or the New England Patriots in the 2000s and 2010s,
now the
or
Chiefs.
if it was the Kansas City Chiefs in the current 2020s. The NFL is always looking for their next dynasty. So today, I want to make a video of the 5 NFL teams that I personally believe have the best chance of being the NFL's future dynasty.
Okay.
So obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs are the current biggest dynasty in the NFL, but I did not want to include them in this video because they are obviously already a dynasty. Now, before I actually get into my list, I want to give one honorable mention, and that's going to go to the LA Chargers. Now, this one is a drastic projection. I don't think they're anywhere close to being even close to being a contending team as of right now. But I potentially think maybe 5 years down the line, if Jim Harbaugh
with Jim Harbaugh, you know what I'm saying, as head coach, they have a chance.
Starting to put the pieces together.
And
to
Jay
being a really good team.
as long as they put better receivers around
Herbert. Dynasty. But with that being said, let's actually hop into our first list. Starting off at number 5, we're gonna be talking about the Baltimore Ravens. Anytime you have an MVP level quarterback like Lamar Jackson, you're always going to be one of the top contending teams within any conference.
Yes, sir.
And fortunately for the Baltimore Ravens, they have decided to go ahead and build Lamar Jackson a pretty damn good roster around him. Offensively speaking, there really is not any weak points to this offense, maybe outside of having like a true receiver 1. But with guys like Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Nelson Aguilar, and of course Mark Andrews, that's a good enough offense and some good weapons
and Isaiah
to surround
Likely
Lamar
as well.
Jackson with. Not to mention you do have Tez Walker behind them, who could potentially become something someday.
Big
you
facts.
also bring in a guy like Derrick
6'3", ran 4'3",
helping this Ravens team for the next foreseeable years. And if that does happen, Derrick Henry is obviously going to be one of, if not the best running back within the NFL. Now, I personally don't believe that Derrick Henry is a part of the long-term future of the Baltimore Ravens, like a guy like Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Lamar Jackson is. But I do think in the meantime, while
don't forget about Keaton Mitchell too, bro.
Out their long-term answer at the running back position,
bro.
Maybe it's Keaton Mitchell, maybe it's a future running back in next year's draft. I do think this team has the makeup of what is going to be a contender for the foreseeable future, and that is also helped by the fact that this is one of the best defenses in the entire NFL, with some young guys like Kyle Hamilton, who I think is going to be one of the best safeties in the league, Odafe Oweh, who's turning into one of the better pass rushers within the league as well, and a number of other younger and older players. This defense is one of the best defenses in the league. I know they lost some coaches this offseason, but I do think they'll figure out a way
Simpson's gonna have a breakout year this year.
Gaps within the defense and make this defense just as good as it was last year. And I think offensively speaking, having a guy like Derrick Henry is going to really make this offense that much more explosive. So in my opinion, I do personally believe that this Baltimore Ravens team does have the younger assets to have this team sustain this success for the next couple of years. And I also think they have enough veteran experience where they can be really successful for the next 3 years with those veteran guys. And then after that, you can rely on a bit more of your younger guys as time goes on. Coming in at number 4, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears have a very interesting future ahead.
I mean, I could definitely see this with the talent they have now, but you know what I'm saying, they got old receivers like Keenan Allen, DJ. Well, how old is DJ Moore? DJ Moore is kind of pushing 30 at this point too, but Keenan Allen's getting older. They do have Rome Odunze, but outside of Rome Odunze, who else is really young in that wide receiving core, bro?
Again, similar to the LA Chargers that I talked about earlier, this is a massive projection on my end, because as of today, we have not seen Rome Odunze or Caleb Williams or a bunch of these younger guys defensively step up to the plate of being top 10 players within their respective positions. So if I am wrong in this take, then it is more than likely that Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and a bunch of these other pieces don't turn out to be what we think they can be. But just looking at the roster as it sits today, this team is one of the most talented teams within the NFL. Caleb Williams was my quarterback 1 by a long shot in this year's draft, and I do think that over the past couple years, he would have been the best quarterback prospect, maybe outside of guys like Trevor Lawrence and maybe Joe Burrow. You surround him with 2 veteran receivers in DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, who can help this team win now, while also being able to help them develop some of the younger guys behind them, like Velus Jones Jr. and Rome Odunze. You also have Cole Kmet, who's also an extremely young tight end prospect. Your offensive line does still need some work, but you do have some younger guys on that offensive line like Tevin Jenkins and Darnell Wright. And defensively speaking, this is one of the best defenses within the NFC, and it is just studded out with a bunch of younger pieces like Tremaine Edmonds, Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, and so many other pieces. And I do personally believe that if this team just can develop some of these younger assets and turn them into some legitimate studs, this is one of the best teams within the NFL. Now again, we're basing this all on the idea that this team is going to develop into those top 10 players within their respective positions. For example, we don't know what Caleb Williams is going to be until we actually see him on the football field.
Yeah.
And I do
Which
personally think
most
that it's
likely
going
will
to
be
take him at
preseason.
least 2 years before he becomes that potential top 10 quarterback. But I do think once everything starts to click for this team, I do think this team could easily be one of the biggest threats to become a dynasty within the NFL. Anytime you have the makeup of a quarterback combination with a wide receiver, a tight end, and a bunch of other young studs, you're setting yourself up extremely nicely for a very bright future. And I do feel like Chicago has done a very good job of surrounding Caleb Williams with the necessary pieces for him to succeed immediately, while also having enough guys who are really young to help this team succeed for the next foreseeable years. My only question for this team is going to be within the coaching staff, but I do think that is going to get figured out this upcoming season, and if it does work out for them, then great. But if not, you go out there, you get a new future head coach who's going to lead this team into potentially being a future dynasty. Next up at number 3, we're going to be talking about one of the most talented teams within
Eagles?
the NFC, especially within the NFC.
I mean, bro, they had all the talent last year, bro, and they got mollywopped in the wild card round by the Bucks. I mean, I understand all the talent and shit, but bro, they've got to clean up a lot of shit, bro. They made a lot of mistakes
Just last year.
year.
The Philadelphia Eagles were in the Super Bowl and were contending with the Kansas City Chiefs all the way down to the very end of that game before they unfortunately lost in the Super Bowl. And had they won that game, then we might already be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles becoming a dynasty as of today. But unfortunately, they lost that championship, and last year they had a very disappointing season. But I do think as of right now, this team is trending in the right direction in general. Offensively speaking, you do have this young quarterback in Jalen Hurts to go along with some other young pieces like A.J. Brown, who isn't necessarily young, but is still a younger talent. Some other guys include Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, your whole offensive line. It may be
I feel like
on the
some people are forgetting like the other wide receivers they drafted, like Johnny Wilson, who is 6'7", bro, and Anaya Smith, who is an electric threat with the ball in his hands.
Guys like Lane Johnson, but there are some
like those two are
Landon
definitely
Dickerson,
big sleepers
Cam Jurgens, and
for
Tyler
them.
Steen. And defensively speaking, you have been acquiring a bunch of younger talents to make this defense one of the more formidable defenses within the NFL. I think this defense still has a couple question marks that need to answer, mainly within the linebacking room and some cornerback questions, but as of today, I do think there's enough young talent on this defense to make it one of the better units out there. Defensive line-wise, you have Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Bryce Huff, a bunch of other younger guys too. Linebacker-wise, you do have Nakobe Dean and Jeremiah Trotter. We'll see if those guys can pan out. I think you're relying on
Nakobe Dean's got to have a breakout this year, bro, unless he's going to be a fucking bust.
You decided to go out there and draft Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, who I think are going to be two fantastic players for this defense moving forward. And you obviously surround those younger players with veteran guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, Devin White, Brandon Graham, so on and so forth.
I forgot they got Devin White.
One of those NFL teams that has a good combination of young talent to go along with older talent.
They got a lot of
but as I've said, the entire
linebackers.
offseason, I just cannot trust the coaching staff quite yet. I do think the coaching staff is good enough to teeter this team going in the right direction, as in being the contenders within the NFC. But in terms of becoming a dynasty, I think you need to have a top 5 head coach, and as of right now, I just don't really believe in any of these coaching staff members of the Philadelphia
Sirianni
Eagles.
is an
so
asshole.
Hopefully for the sake of the Philadelphia Eagles, I will, one, be proved wrong, or if it doesn't prove me wrong, then hopefully they will actually be able to find their future head coach who could lead this team to potentially becoming one of the biggest dynasties within the NFC. Next up at number 2, we're going to be talking about probably the
Detroit
best
Lions,
team in the NFC, not named the San Francisco 49ers, and that is going to be the Detroit Lions. Anytime you have
their
an
turnaround is
as talented
crazy
as a Lions with guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, a stout offensive line, and of course Jahmyr Gibbs, you're going to be one of the best offenses out there regardless of who your
They've got
is.
everything set up. Like they got their franchise receiver, they got their franchise quarterback, they got their franchise running back, they got their franchise tight end, they got one of the best, if not the best, offensive line. You know what I'm saying? They got great pieces on defense. They drafted you know what I'm saying? Damn, fuck. They drafted Endick Rakestraw. They drafted Terrion Arnold. They traded for Carlton Davis. They already got Brian Branch. You know what I'm saying? They already got Aiden Hutchinson. That defense is young and they're really good, bro. They are really good. They
actually have a very good quarterback in Jared Goff. Is he a top 5 quarterback in the league? Definitely no. But is he a top 10 guy? I definitely think there's an argument to be said. And to be honest with you, I don't really feel like Jared Goff has to be that spectacular for this team to make a deep playoff run. Like, they are so ridiculously talented, both offensively and defensively, that as long as Jared Goff can just do his job and not cost the team games, he's going to be totally fine as a starting quarterback. And for the sake of the Lions, as I said earlier, I do think Jared Goff is a good quarterback, so it's not like you have to worry about him selling consistently as time goes on. I really have no fears that Jared Goff can go toe-to-toe with any of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Hell, last year we saw him do it consistently in the playoffs, going up against Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, and Brock Purdy to have a pretty damn competitive run before just coming up just a tad bit short in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. Jared Goff is an experienced quarterback who's been to a championship game before, fell a little bit short, but he was younger then. Now he's more experienced, and I do think that he is able to get this team heading in the right direction as time goes on. And the nice thing for this Lions team is, let's say Jared Goff does not pan out in the next couple years and you have to replace him with a drafted quarterback or somebody you maybe get in free agency. It's not like it's going to be that difficult to get any quarterback out there and have this team going in the right direction because of how talented this team is. You can put basically any quarterback under center. If it's Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, hell, even Sam Darnold, I think they're going to have success with all the talent on this team. But as I said, I have no questions about Jared Goff. He's a great quarterback. Defensively speaking, it's been their weaker points the past couple of seasons, but they've done a really good job of surrounding some of the talented players defensively with even more talented players. Defensive line-wise, you have Aiden Hutchinson, and you surround him with guys like Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport, John. I
forgot they signed DJ Reader. DJ Reader's a huge get for them.
What this defensive line can be. I'm not necessarily sure it's going to be a top 10 defensive line, but I do think it's good enough to get the job done. Linebacker-wise, you have some big names with guys like Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, and Derek Barnes, and your secondary has gotten a big-time improvement from last year with guys like Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. And of course, your safety combination of Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph is just ridiculously good. So all in all, you have a young team that is surrounded with a couple of veteran players to help this team get over the edge. Am I a tad bit worried about the salary cap future for this team? 100%. But as it is right now, this team is
like, bro, they're paying Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, and Jared Goff top 5 money in the league right now, bro. So
to be super competitive.
Shit is gonna eventually catch up to them, but for right now, they're straight.
The Houston Texans. Now, this is kind of a big projection for me here, and you can make the argument that the Detroit Lions or even the Philadelphia Eagles or even the Chicago Bears have a better chance of being a dynasty over a team like the Houston Texans. But I personally do look at the upside of what this Houston Texans team can be and see just the good pathway.
When you had a rookie that was an MVP conversation, why not?
Starts this year.
And you know what I'm saying? You already surrounded him with great talent last year, and then you upgrade that by bringing in Stephon Diggs, you know what I'm saying? Bringing in Joe Mixon, bringing in, you know what I'm saying? They drafted Kate Stover, who was his teammate at Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? And then you get better on defense as well. So, you know, this might be a dynasty in the next, few years or so.
Probably starts in 2 to 3 years as his team continues to acquire even more talent surrounding CJ Stroud. But as it is today, I do think that this Houston Texans team has a genuinely good chance to be future contenders, especially this upcoming season and for the next foreseeable future. Because anytime you have a quarterback like CJ Stroud who has that big and that historic of a rookie season, the expectation is going to be that he's going to continue to improve. And with a guy like CJ Stroud who is as talented as he is, I'm definitely banking on him having a ton more upside and a ton more potential to tap into. And if he can tap into that potential that I see in him, we're talking about a guy who's a top 5 quarterback. And anytime that you have a top 5 quarterback, especially on a rookie contract like CJ Stroud, you're talking about a team that can consistently compete for the rest of his career. Yeah. It also does help when you have really good management that has been doing a good job of acquiring even more talent to surround CJ Stroud with. Offensively, you have some pretty good running backs with Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce. Receiving core-wise, it might be the best in the league with Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell. Not to mention Brevin Jordan and Dalton Schultz are a good tight end combination. The offensive line still has a couple question marks, but I do think it's heading in the right direction. And defensively speaking, you've done a really good job of acquiring some veteran presence like Daniil Hunter, Azeez Al-Shaair, and Christian Harris, and surround those guys with young talents like Will Anderson Jr., Henry To'oTo'o, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, and so on and so forth. If we're banking on the upside of some of these young defensive players and the upside of CJ Stroud, this team has the makeup of what could be a future dynasty for many years to come. We've already seen CJ Stroud go toe-to-toe with some of the top AFC quarterbacks. Last year, he did a really good job of having that team be super competitive in the playoffs last year as a freaking rookie. And I do think as time goes on, we're going to be talking about this Houston Texans team being the biggest threat for the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward. But you guys let me know in the comment section below, do you guys agree with my list? Do you guys think my list is completely wrong? And if you enjoyed
I agree with this list, bro. Like that last list he had, bro, I did not agree whatsoever. But this is a way better list.
You guys. Peace.
100%. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoy. Do you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on post notifications, get notified whenever I drop another banger video. We're on the road to 300 subs. So I'm gonna get there for more banger NFL content like this. And without further ado, I'm out. Gang!